G'day crew, welcome to Goat Fantasy. It's the Monday Rage Trade Edition. Goat Fantasy brought to you by checkmyrates.au. Visit the website, it's free to use. Take control of your financial future. Brandon and the team will help you get a better home loan rate. Alright, so Goat Fantasy Podcast, we're up to round 8 of the AFL season. Drew Jones, your host, is with you. And of course, as always, we've already pulled the trigger on those rage trades after what was hopefully some was a good weekend, because there were some big scores. There were some frustrations as well, as always. Hopefully not too much from a forced trade perspective. So for 2 weeks in a row, potentially you've got a bit of room to maneuver with maybe some one-up, one-downs, or finding some sort of upgrade from a failed premium or mid-price or whatever that may be. I've looked at my team. I'm sort of looking at what the double downgrade looks like with Rechko and Cumming, the two Richmond lads, because I'd ideally love to trade McKercher, and there'd be a few people in this boat for those who either started the season with him and held, or who reinvested in him when it seemed like he got that halfback role back. Again, he was thrown around in the game against GWS, and the unpredictability of his role just makes him really tough to own. So I would be fair to say it was a very failed option to bring him in off the back of what we thought was a positive role change. Unfortunately, that hasn't quite worked out. So if you've got McKercher, I can see why you'd be wanting to get off him this week. And if you can do like a rookie downgrade and then get McKercher up to a premium, and that's where we can kind of start, is the premium defenders who we're looking out for this week. So Archie Roberts, Fornham's been sensational. He's got Brisbane, GWS and Fremantle across his next 3. And if Essendon continue to play in the way that they are, sure, 40 possessions on the weekend, not really any contested, not really any scoring involvements, but just chipping it around the back line. Perfect for fantasy. The only issue is that Essendon, if they continue to play badly, will they change their style of footy? That's always the concern. And then Nasai Wanganeen Miller, a big score against the Eagles, which was kind of always expected. He's up over $1 million in AFL fantasy now, but he didn't gain that much cash, so I think he's still pretty good value. And I've had a look, and I think he's the best value premium in Supercoach. I think he's bottomed out there. So if you are looking for an upgrade down back, I think that's not a bad place to go. And then from a GWS perspective, I think a lot of people are thinking that's a good place to invest at the moment. So Lockie Ash and Lockie Whitfield, of course, are always going to be good options in your defence. And their run is Suns, Essendon, Eagles, Lions, D's. And then they have the good buy with Richmond, which would allow you to have those GWS guys in for all of the hard buys around that. So that's why those two shape as really good options, and potentially why Callaghan might be on our radar going forward. So from a midfield perspective, he's under $1 million fin in AFL fantasy, and he's about 550, I think, in Supercoach. So pretty affordable for a proper Supercoach guy. So if you wanted to go there with a good buy, then Callaghan's a nice option. Heaney is the cheapest gun primo in AFL fantasy, and he's still got a lowish break-even coming off a week off with a calf. He's extremely pricey in Supercoach, but worth the money. I'm not sure if you're going there though in Supercoach. And then the Lions, who have a decent run coming up, McCluggage and Dunkley are just so underpriced, so they're both options. And Will Ashcroft as well, coming off 130 in AFL fantasy. I think he's someone who you could absolutely invest in, and that sort of flows into Zach Bailey, who had a great game on the weekend. We've sort of seen the best and worst from him over the last couple of weeks, but he might end up being a top 6 forward this season. So if you like Brisbane's run coming up and you like Zach Bailey, he's a forward option for you. Of course, Petrarca and Pickett, they're probably going to be sort of the F2, F3. So they're good investments, and Pickett was great against Richmond as expected, and Petrarca performed well in a tough matchup against Hawthorn. And then Chad Warner, 14 CBAs, but also 6 scoring shots. So he padded it late against the Bulldogs with a couple of goals. But it's a pretty nice combo. I think it's a nice roll, considering where he's priced. And the break-even's probably pretty good right now. And then Jason Horne-Francis, who's having a superb couple of weeks, still under $1 million in AFL Fantasy, and he's pushing for that top 6 forward spot as well. I think rucks are fairly self-explanatory, to be honest. Obviously, Grundy's playing great footy. Probably didn't score quite as much as we expected against the 2 rookie Dogs. And then, him and Gawn play against each other this weekend. So that's going to be a tough matchup. And then Max Heath, just the amount of game time that he had was a bit scary for Gawn owners, because we expected him to go massive against Richmond. And hopefully you had a good captaincy option if you VC'd him. I mean, if you went Gawn over Grundy, as I did, thinking that the run was going to be the reason why, and it was worth investing the extra money, we've all probably learned a lesson there, but I don't think there's any reason to panic. And then, of course, Luke Jackson is playing really well as well. So in Supercoach, obviously you're trying to flesh out your 3 ruck strategy, and at the moment I think that is ideally Grundy, Gawn, and Luke Jackson. But English is potentially back this week. And certainly Sherry was awesome against Nick Madden in Canberra on Sunday. So there's a few options floating around. From a rookie perspective, I think we all understand that Patrick Rechko is the most important player to get in this week as far as a downgrade target. So he's on the bubble in Supercoach. I think he's about 120k. And you've got to go there in AFL Fantasy as one of your downgrades, Bill Myers or someone like that. And then Liam Reid is the interesting one. So it's sort of hard to know what Carlton will do with him going forward, with Pitnet likely to return. Are they going to go with a 2-ruck strategy? I think this is something worth monitoring this week. See what Michael Voss is like, see what selections happen. Because if Reedy ended up on your bench, instead of Lombard or whatever, doesn't really matter that much. It's kind of a risk almost worth taking, considering if he does get a good run in the team, he's going to make a lot of cash. Scored well as the solo ruck last week. So, if you're feeling brave, potentially he's an option. The other one in the forward line is Matt Jefferson, who's on the bubble now. And I'm going to Stephen King tomorrow, so I'll try and get a bit of an inkling of what he's feeling about Matty Jefferson, because is he going to get an extended run in this side? There's just a real lack of forward options. Roby, I don't think we can go there from Essendon. So Jefferson's sort of one of those he's on, the last week that you can do it. And Melbourne are winning at the moment, so perhaps he keeps that spot for a bit longer. And then, guys like Charlie and Will Edwards, their job security a bit shaky. Smith and Emmett, you're not going there from the Dogs. And then Burton and Cootie, we still need to see a bit more from. And in terms of the guys you're getting rid of this week, so I think there is a compelling case to get off Colby McKercher if you can get up to one of the premium defenders. And then McAndrew in Supercoach, I think you need to have 3 premium ruckmen to compete with the scoring ceiling of the best teams. So in AFL Fantasy, I think you're fine to hold McAndrew, but I think in Supercoach you want to be moving on from him when you can. And then, there's a few guys who are getting close to their topping out in price. Your Jagger Smiths and your Tanner Bruins. And then I think Watkins, certainly you want to be getting off. And Marshall is not helping us with illness and injury and all that sort of thing. So there's a bit to work through there. I look forward to this week because there's a lot of different directions you can go. And I look forward to hearing all those. And that's what makes this week, I think, so intriguing for everyone, because we can get a little bit creative finally. All right, thanks for your time on Goat Fantasy. Appreciate it as always. We'll be back with mailbag and all the other good stuff from Goat Fantasy. Catch you soon.